So the demonstration that we have today, we've built this fictitious company called 3 Sheets to the Wind. They're a kite and a kite accessories company. And we're going against Cloudera for this, and we've got a couple of different subject areas at play. So we have wind speeds, temperatures around the globe, as well as the number of internet users, because this is primarily an internet business. And I'm going to turn it over to Mark to show you how this all comes together, and then at the end we'll take some questions as well as summarize the main point here.
Thanks, Paul. So the first thing I needed to do in order to establish a credible city to move this fictional kite store to is to find out what cities across the world, or in this case across the Americas, had the best wind speeds. So the first thing I can do is come to a new worksheet and see that I have been given access to 3 data sources on the Cloudera cluster. I'm going to bring out countries and cities to start to geocode them onto the map. Moving over to the second data source, I'm being given access to the regional template for what regions we actually combine with these cities. Navigating to the Americas because that's where we want to look into. Now if I come back to this weather data, which is weather data by the hour across globally, I can come down to my measures and find the wind speeds. And to highlight the wind speeds more, I can bring it out to size and then to color. So just like that, I've been able to combine wind speed data from my weather data source with the region template data from a different data source. Now my company colors may not be green, so I'm going to quickly change that to blue. Maybe give it a border and let it pop. There we go. Now this visualization tells us that Brazil is a good idea to look into for developing a new store. But if we bring in extra information from the world indicator to look at internet users, we might be able to surface a different insight. So opening up a new worksheet, I'm going to connect to those cities or the countries that I want to move into. Again, filter them by different region from a different data source. And then move into a third data source on the Cloudera cluster so I can see the internet users inside those countries. Sorting, so I can visually see which countries have more users. And then again, editing, so I can edit to the colors that my corporate standard. And just like that, I was able to create 2 visualizations that tell a data-driven story about what city my store, 3 Sheets to the Wind, should move into. Paul, do you have any more information to give on this?
Yeah, so I think when you think about the role of the discovery layer here, what's interesting is we talk about these as data sources, but think about them just as business subject areas. And so now you've got multiple subject areas that may give you a different insight. And to Mark's point, if we had determined that we want to target Brazil, what we would have found was that in Brazil we don't have as many addressable customers as we do in Canada or the United States. So if you look at the northeast of Canada and the United States where there's high winds, we also have high user counts. And then another factor that could come into play here could be the average temperature for being able to fly a kite, right? And so if it's cold, are you going to be flying kites for a number of months? So what's the really addressable market here? And so it just helps the business expert, subject expert, make a better decision by seamlessly doing this. And what you saw Mark do was all drag and drop. He didn't write SQL. He didn't write script. He didn't write code to do this. He just pulled measures and dimensions onto a palette and then ultimately formulated it into a dashboard that others could consume. So now this can be shared over the web, over mobile devices, in a variety of ways. And the same interaction you see Mark walking through, you can do. So he can filter on countries, he can filter on wind speeds, he can do all of these things and turn any object in this dashboard into a control that tells you better information. So rather than fishing for the data that tells you a story, you're visually shown it, and you can make a decision from there. So I think that's it, Mark.
Thanks, Paul. Yeah, and just to highlight one more thing that Paul talked about was creating this insight and these being able to scroll over Canada to see the cities in Canada, or scroll over the United States to see the cities in the United States. Took me about 3 minutes to create. In fact, as a side comment about creating this dashboard, the part that took me the longest was deciding on what font to use as my lettering. All right, that's all I have for the demo.